why do we have to recover in the first place? What are we recovering from? Every single day of our lives, each one of us experiences some kind of trauma. Good day, everyone, and welcome to season 2 of Monday Morning Moments with Mark. I hope this finds you well. And if not, well, then I guess I got the right topic for you this week on recovery. We'll get into all that here in a few minutes, but as always, we have to start with the funniest thing. And the funniest thing that happened is right before I was getting ready to, not right before, but before I was getting ready to do this episode today, I got a great paper cut, and that was my most significant trauma of the day so far. I hope to keep it that way. But the irony that I was going to make an example about a paper cut in this story of recovering from minor traumas, and I got one. So here we are. Nothing like, I guess, walking the walk, talking the talk, whatever it is, but this is the reality of it. So, anyways, we'll get into all of that, what recovery is. But before I do that, a couple of administrative things. First and foremost, I want to dedicate this episode to Miss Bobby Hunley, who passed away a little over a week ago. Very near and dear to me and my family, and to my church family in Georgia Baptist Presbyterian Church. And I hope that what I have to say today can help not only her immediate family, but as well as all of the people that have been touched by the wonderful life that that lady lived, and helped in that recovery process as well. So, getting into things, first of all, what is recovery? So, digging into the word, the etymology of the word, the Latin origin, recuperare, to recuperate, or recover something, or recover, to regain something, recoup. And then in Spanish is actually a little bit different, recobrar. Um, it means to recharge. So essentially, we're talking about regaining power. More on that thought in a minute. But where does the need to why do we have to recover in the first place? What are we recovering from? So every single day of our lives, each one of us experiences some kind of trauma. It may be something as benign as a paper cut, could be any sort of physical, spiritual, emotional, social trauma, all the way up to the death of a very close loved one. And every bit of that, all forms of trauma, are things that steal our energy from us. They force us to stop what we're doing and address the situation. It's such causes such a chaos that we have to address it, and that's where energy gets stolen. To keep things light, in the case of my paper cut I got, I had to stop opening the mail. I had to clean out my finger. I had to go find a band-aid, put the band-aid on, and now I've been dealing with having a band-aid on my finger the rest of the day, which is not, it's impeding me, but it is kind of aggravating, as I do a lot of typing. But that energy was stolen from me because I had to address the trauma in the immediate. But now, everything that I've done after that moment is part of the recovery process. Essentially, you could say that all of those steps, everything after the moment of the cut, everything after that was part of the recovery process. Within the recovery process, you have two different kinds of energy. You have positive and negative recovery. So negative recovery is the initial reaction I had to the pain of my finger. It was a good paper cut. Um, and how we respond to that. And sometimes that's necessary, and sometimes it's unavoidable. How long you allow it to dwell? Well, we'll talk about time here in a few minutes. Then there's positive recovery, which is the kind we want to aspire to, where we take the trauma and we meet it head on. In my case, cleaning out the wound, taking the time, effort, energy to do that, that was definitely positive recovery. Putting a band-aid on to make sure that nothing happened to my paper cut, didn't get some junk in it today and get infected and I lose my finger, so I like to point and talk with my hands. So that was all positive energy into my recovery process. I guess I could have stopped and put some Neosporin on there, and that probably would have been a good idea too. Maybe I'll do that when I change the Band-Aid later if I need to. So we have negative and positive kinds of recovery. Both are kind of essential. It's a matter of which one you do over time that determines how well your recovery process goes. So it's great, Mark. You're talking about your paper cut. You're going to be fine. But what about the big ones? Finding out that you're terminally ill, car crashes, death of a loved one, losing a limb, significant, big, um, ones that hit all the physical, mental, spiritual, emotional, social, all of them in one shot kind of traumas. Well, how do you deal with that? How does that impact the recovery process? And I'll tell you that the answer is always still the same: to return to normal as fast as possible. If an athlete ever gets injured, that's what they tell them: how do you get back to doing your routine. Anything after surgery, they'll tell you the same thing. So how do we do that is literally but I'm so impacted by this that it's changed my life. Well, that's great. Go back to doing the things that you normally do. The trauma will show up and present itself, and it will tell you what your impediments are and when you need to change. But if you are not in charge of the situation and you're not the one controlling living your life as normal as humanly possible, and then allowing it to present itself and going, okay, I need to address this. This is something different for me. This is a different emotion. This is a different physical sensation. This is a different thought process. I have to do something differently. Oh, yes, this goes back to when whatever thing happened to me. I have to do something different. Now I've made the change. But before that, I was in charge. I was doing what I needed to do. A lot of times people experience trauma, and this is where depression, or part of where depression comes from, is we'll immediately regress and go back into like safeguard mode, so we don't have to deal with it again. And you go way overbearing in protecting yourself from the trauma, when the reality is you should be trying your best to continue to live forward, and then figuring out where you need to make the changes up as they present themselves. The best way I can summarize all of that is having to put a band-aid on a paper cut did not result in me having to, go lay down and call my boss and tell him I couldn't work today. That's the truth of it. And how we expend our energy over time is power. For my science people out there, energy over time is power. Okay? If we allow that energy to be a negative divided by the time is always going to be positive, it's moving forward, then we're going to have a negative result in our power. If you spend too much time in the negative energy of recovery, or in negative recovery, then you're willfully choosing to give up your power over the situation, and you're allowing the trauma to control you. Okay? So we should take some time to be in control and accept it for what it is and incorporate it into who we are. This is a thing that happened, but it's not who I am. You hear people say all the time, well, don't let it define you. That's fine. Welcome to my life. New thing. I will figure out how to accommodate you and figure out where you fit going forward. But I'm not going to allow it to take my energy and make it be a negative energy. Certainly not expend it over time so that I'm giving up my power over my life. So let that sink in. Whatever, like I said, we're all going to experience it, whether you had one today, a paper cut, or who knows what tomorrow might bring. But when that moment presents itself, take the time to make sure that the energy you are expending in the recovery process is positive energy, so that over time you can continue to regain your power over the traumatic event. I hope you loved this first episode of season 2. There will be another one in 2 weeks. We're going bi-weekly in season 2, and I will see you in a couple weeks. Have a great week.